All right, it's time for AGEBAIT. This is when Luca shows me something from internet culture and we test my knowledge. So, Luca, what do you have for me today?
Okay, in the past episodes, I've shown you about AI Erica Kirk and about Polymarket. But if those didn't convince you that we were kind of living in a dystopia, today I'm talking to you about Looksmaxxing.
That is something I feel like maybe I've heard about, but I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, okay, because I think it is kind of everywhere right now, but I don't think people kind of understand like the full extent of it. So I want to play you a little clip to get us going.
This next election cycle, who's going to win? It's going to be Gavin Newsom against JD Vance because JD Vance is subhuman and Gavin Newsom mugs.
JD Vance is subhuman?
Yeah.
What makes you say that?
He's got a very short total facial width to height ratio. He's obese, very recessed side profile, whereas Newsom is like 6'3" Chad.
I don't even know what to make of what was that?
Who is that? That is Clavicular, as he's known.
Clavicular?
Yeah. Well,
Clavicle?
I guess his it does refer to his clavicles because they're supposed to have a certain width apart. But his, biblical or birth name would be Braden Peters.
Okay.
And he's a TikToker, influencer, and he's become one of the faces of Looksmaxxing. In this clip, he's being interviewed by this conservative radio host about kind of the political implications of Looksmaxxing. But Looksmaxxing itself is kind of this subculture about maximizing your appearance, essentially so that more women want to sleep with you.
All right. So you're saying that there's a whole subculture, and this is younger men?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is like, is this just an extension of a culture that always this is what women have been subjected to forever, and now we're just doing men? Although my spidey senses are like, that seems darker than that.
I think it is much darker than that. I mean, there's always been like racism and beauty standards, but here, like it feels very eugenics adjacent there. I mean, in this clip, you're even hearing him talk about skull ratios and stuff like that. And some of the stuff that people who are really into Looksmaxxers get into is lots of steroid use, breaking their facial bones to get a better like symmetry. And also like lots of other really extreme dieting and plastic surgery stuff. And the even darker part is that this kind of whole concept comes out of incel culture, like an online community of mostly men who see dating and sex as this kind of like brutal hierarchy where a small number of men get all the attention and everyone else gets shut out.
So I guess it's not super surprising to me that, I think about like working right now with young people, and AI is totally changing everything about their futures and their job, what the jobs are going to have, and everyone's uncertain. And it's like, I guess it's not super shocking that as a time when, for most of the last hundreds of years, the mind was the way that you advanced, right? Your intellect, your brain, right? And it seems like intellect, your brain is going to be less and less important. So I guess it's not super surprising that a group of people that was feeling sort of like lost would find, well, the mind won't matter anymore, so I'm going to define myself by my looks.
I love that you're so sympathetic to this.
Easy. I did not say sympathetic.
Well,
I'm just trying to.
That's not a bad thing. I said I loved it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I got defensive too quickly.
But like, no, but honestly, like what, I feel like a lot of people look at this and they see, oh my God, these young men, they are like totally poisoned on the internet. Why do you kind of have this like more generous perception as a first reaction?
Oh, because I feel like, I think people are so lonely. I don't know if that's the answer you'd expect, but like, I just feel that people are so lonely for connection, and particularly this generation. You're a little bit out of it, but I talk about this generation. It's like they're the first generation that was literally handed them an iPhone, right? When they're like in elementary and middle school. Then they get COVID and they're pulled from their communities for years. And then they're about to go out into the real world, and AI is changing everything. And so, loneliness is an epidemic in this country. And then you think about, to me, it is hard to live a good life if you don't feel like you have some purpose. And I just feel like people will human beings will find value wherever they can.
Yeah.
We need to have value in ourselves. And so I see this as a really painful adaptation to a very difficult world.
Okay, I would like to kind of pull this a little bit more into politics now and play you a little bit more of this.
Okay.
Okay, so then the interviewer asks Clavicular a little bit more about the impacts on politics and the 2028 presidential election.
Like let's say you got a vote. It's 2028.
I'm voting
now-
for Gavin Newsom.
You're
Just
voting
like
for Gavin Newsom.
You can't be that subhuman.
So you, hold on. You're gonna pick the pro-mass migrant, pro-trans, pro-murder the babies, pro-burn the cities to the ground, pro-BLM Democrat because he's skinnier than the conservative vice president.
100 times over.
Okay. I'm not sure it's appropriate to make light of this, but as that was playing, I was like, oh, okay, the Democrats have a new strategy. As long as we have the tallest, most chiseled face person running, we can recapture people who voted for Trump. Anyway, that is I guess shocking is not really a helpful word here. I mean, honestly, it's so I want to say two things. One is because I feel like even in my showing empathy, like I want to get back to the fact that there are some vile and very, very, very dangerous racist things that are coming from this. But I will say it's almost comical, right? To look at someone who's so young and so not developed intellectually or certainly emotionally, right? To have these comments and to say that about a politician. But I'll also say, like, there's plenty of evidence that we elect tall men. That has been in the social science data forever. To suggest that politics and looks are not intertwined. And I guess that's where my bigger point on this would be, isn't this just reflecting what is actually on the surface of our culture, American culture, constantly? We are driven by looks. We are a vain culture. It is capitalist. It is make yourself be a certain way. We elevate people who are attractive. People who are attractive often have more powerful positions. So I think so much of what happens when these things come popping up is we like to say like, oh, shock. This is shocking. Well, these are undercurrents in American political system that are always there. And people who are bearing the direct brunt of those, stakes have been telling us that forever. So part of me is like shocked and not shocked, right? Like this feels very American.
Yeah. And it's no surprise that the internet is where these trends kind of bubble up because social media is very like cyclical in like
right.
It brings back things from our history. So like on like a very light sense, people are like, oh, like 80s fashion is back. But like the internet's a very like extreme place. It's not that shocking that other dark parts of our history are going to circle back, including eugenics.
Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. Well, I mean, the only good thing I could say is, at least for women, it feels like the body positive, is there. And so maybe men are having their own sort of sense of like,
oh, I don't know about that, Allison.
What?
I think you're missing that part.
Wait, body positive is over?
I wouldn't say it's over, but I think unfortunately there's a lot of articles about skinny being back, heroin chic, and the Ozempification of everything.
Oh man. So now so there's just a complete.
It's happening to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Total body dysmorphia everywhere.
Yeah.
Just to put a point on it, I mean, I think it is really interesting that young men were like such a topic after the 2024 election, how they swung towards Trump. And this interview makes me really curious to like how grounded those young men are actually in conservative politics in a serious way, or if it's just kind of this like unmoored dystopian online world. And like his political support seems grounded in, I mean, only looks and appearance.
Yeah. I think your point is really interesting because this segment of the population, right, young white men, has become a key voting bloc because they swung so hard against Biden and back to Trump that it will be interesting to see whether people hold up and sort of stay strong against this kind of culture or if there's some subtle and, Newsom's an interesting example, right? Like what nods does he end up making to these communities for the political calculus, which of course always raises the question for Democrats, in my opinion, is like, how much do you hold on to your principles, especially to the extent that they may cost you an election? Like where do you bend?
Interesting. I'll make one last point here, which I think this whole concept of Looksmaxxing and the interview I just showed you shows a lot about the nihilism of my generation. Like, they are grasping for connection and meaning, or to ground their life in anything that they can grab onto. And I think the trouble for Democrats is that Democrats are a very earnest
Yeah.
political party, and they don't understand that the younger generation takes almost nothing seriously. There is so much nihilism, and Gavin Newsom can't go out and like fabricate an authentic connection to Gen Z by like talking about mogging or whatever, or Looksmaxxing. Like, the understanding that like everything is not serious is like something you kind of just like have or you don't have.
It was interesting. I heard someone talk about how your generation, you sniff out authenticity so quickly because you're scrolling for content and have been since you were young. And so it's like no advertising company, no focus group, no political consultant is going to be able to like get past what you all know intuitively. And, you know, the problem is a lot of people in power, we don't really understand your world. It's not how we grew up.
I mean, I think you're right. I sniff out authenticity very well, Allison.
Yes,
I'm
you
always
do.
telling you.
I know you do.
That's my editing skill with you. I'm like, that sounds like bullshit. Anyways, I think that's a wrap
Okay.
on AgeBait.
Okay, that's a wrap. Let's be done.
Okay.
It's always a pleasure, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow, Allison.